Joining me now, we welcome back to the show Distinguished Senator John Barrasso, ranking member on the Energy Committee, chairman of the Senate Republican Conference. John Barrasso, Senator, welcome back. Let me read you, I mean, you know this, but I just want to read you what Joe Biden said. He threw a temper tantrum while he was in Riyadh at Joe Manchin. He says, quote, "If the Senate will not move to tackle this climate crisis and strengthen our domestic clean energy industry, I will take strong executive action to meet this moment," end quote, whatever that means, meet this moment. Senator Barrasso, he's going to make some kind of announcement tomorrow, which will probably violate the Supreme Court's recent decision. But what do you know about it? You're an energy guy, and here's Biden back on the warpath. What do you think's going on here, Senator Barrasso?
Well, first, you started with the president in Riyadh, and the problem is the president had a completely failed trip there. When the president of the United States falls flat on his face, it's the American people that get a bloody nose. So he came back empty-handed, and now he's talking about declaring a climate emergency. Larry, we have a lot of crises in this country. We have an inflation crisis. We have an energy crisis. We have a crime crisis, a crisis at the border. I was just at the border last weekend. But Joe Biden, who is known for not focusing on the things the American people care about, which is the cost of things and inflation, he wants to focus now on the climate, declare it an emergency so he can take further executive actions. It's going to be a long and expensive summer with more expensive energy coming thanks to Joe Biden.
Does he, I mean, do you think he understands that if he takes major economy-wide decisions, which these fossil fuel things are, the Supreme Court just said you can't do that without congressional legislation, but the Senate just said we're not going to do that? So I don't know what he's doing. I mean, it seems like he's all twisted up, kind of like a pretzel.
Well, he is, and it's because of the radical, extreme climate alarmists who are calling the shots for the entire Democrat Party, which is why so many Democrats line up and why we need to defeat all of them come the November elections. But they don't seem to care if the cost of energy goes up. One of the White House spokesmen said, well, that was the cost of the liberal world order, this great transition of different energies that the president is talking about. I don't know if he grasps the fact that there is still a huge gap in this country between renewable energy and reliable energy, and Americans want affordable energy, available energy, and it looks like we're not just having to worry about high prices, we're also having to worry about blackouts that are coming to possibly 2/3 of the country, Larry, this summer.
I'm sure you saw, it was interesting, regrettable, but Texas may have blackouts itself, or may be starting to have brownouts leading to blackouts. Too much reliance on unreliable renewables, in particular the wind turbines. I mean, I think the Texas went too far a bunch of years ago, but that's a danger sign. I mean, isn't that what this is all about? And isn't that what the Bidens are missing?
Well, yeah, you can't rely alone on the sun, the wind, and wishful thinking. We need all of the energy, and we need to make all of the energy as clean as we can, as fast as we can, Larry, and do it in ways that don't raise costs for American people. Energy is called the master resource for a reason. It powers our economy. It powers our country. People get it. Apparently, Joe Biden doesn't get it. And with regard to Texas, you may have seen the notices that are coming out. Since they're so reliable, since they're so dependent on the renewable energy, what they're saying is if you have an electric vehicle, don't plug it in between 3 and 8 p.m. If you have different appliances, unplug them. Turn up your air conditioner to a higher temperature, even though they're facing 108 degrees. That's what we're getting with the Joe Biden energy extremism, because he's so dependent upon those climate elitists and extremists that call the tune for this administration.
Senator Barrasso, let me switch gears slightly. The Senate's going to take up this issue of the computer chip subsidies. You probably saw the Wall Street Journal editorial on it, industrial policy, corporate welfare, tax breaks up to $75 billion. I must say, sir, I rather agree with what the Journal is talking about here. What's your thinking on this computer chip subsidy? We really need this stuff?
Well, it's under the guise of competing with China. And for China, I say never again. Never again can America be dependent upon you for materials, for minerals, for medicines, all of those sorts of things. With regard to this specific piece of legislation, I'm a no vote. We're talking about over $50 billion, possibly up to $75 billion. It is subsidy to industry. You look at some of the companies, they'll take the subsidy, but I don't believe they need the subsidy. There was a significant shortage of these computer chips during the pandemic. They're catching up with that now. The government is much too late if they were going to do this. They should have done some things a lot earlier. I'm going to vote against that today when it's on the floor of the Senate.
Oh. I mean, the Joint Tax Committee, no, that's not true. The Republican side of the House Ways and Means Committee, beg your pardon, they're saying for the same money, roughly $75 billion, Congress could have doubled the R&D tax credit for all companies, you know, not just winners, picking winners and losers. And it could have thrown in 100% expensing for companies, and it could have allowed immediate R&D deductions at least through 2025. I mean, you know, Senator, I sort of like tax cuts for everybody. I hate picking winners and losers. It's a problem I've always had. And I don't want us to out-China China, you know, regarding government spending subsidies. I mean, I think those are important issues.
If we're going to compete with China, the last thing we need to do, Larry, at this point is add another $75 billion to the debt.
Yeah, boy, you are so right. How about that? You could really, R&D tax credits, 100% expensing, it'd be fabulous. You could submit that. It's tax cuts. Let's go on the offensive. Tax cuts.
The issue that impacts most Americans today is inflation. People cannot afford Joe Biden or his policies or the Democrats. As you say, the cavalry is coming. We need to get rid of every one of these Democrats that's on the ballot this November, top to bottom, from the Senate, the House, governors all across the country. They are all leading a charge to the far left, and it's been hurting American families who are just trying to put food on the table, fill the car with gas, and have a little left over at the end of the month so they can pay their bills.
All right. Amen to that. Thank you, Senator John Barrasso. We appreciate it, sir. Thanks for coming back on.